The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Robin Pod Weekly. And cup fever has hit the city of Hull, despite the competition only being at the quarter-final stages. This week, we look back at that Robins victory over Oldham. We discuss Evalds in, or Evalds out, and Morgue in. And we look ahead to a rare Sunday afternoon kickoff when we entertain the Leigh Leopards at Soul Group Craven Park. As ever, I'm delighted to be joined by Steve Till for Robins Revisited. But to kick us off, welcome to the Robin Pod is regular James Purling, and we have a debutant, fresh blood, new blood, as James joins the Robin Pod for the very first time. But he'll be referred to as Waino as we go on because we've got two Jameses. So to clarify, I think it makes it a bit easier. James, before I bring Waino in, pal, you okay?
Which one?
Purling, are you listening?
I'm listening, yeah, I'm listening, Chris.
Yes. Waino. Here we go. I tell you what, I've just introduced the explanation about why, and we've already fucked it up, haven't we, in the first? Literally. Right, James, you're James. James Wainright.
Waino.
There we go. Right, James Purling, how are you doing?
Yeah. I'm all right, Chris. How are you? Great to see you, James. Waino.
Yeah, I never want to say about age catching up, but if there was ever an example of that, I'm waiting until we bring Steve Till in. I don't know if that's going to confuse the matter.
When Steve comes on, the 2 old pod is going as it wants it.
All joking aside, Waino, great to have you on the Robin Pod. I put out an appeal earlier a few days ago about getting new people on the Robin Pod. If anyone's listening, watching on YouTube, if you want to come on the Robin Pod, literally, this is the whole point of this is about fans giving their opinions. I always look to get fans from opposition clubs or journalists who can give an independent view. And also, we're looking for new people, Rovers fans, to come on and give their opinions. So, Waino, I'm glad you've come on. Welcome to the Robin Pod.
Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you what, Waino, we'll kick off with you because obviously the Robins, I tell you what, this Challenge Cup victory over Oldham seems like a lifetime ago with everything what's happened in between.
It does, doesn't it?
But I had to rejig my memory. I was watching the out. I had to remember what happened because, like I said, it seems like a long time ago. But a 40-0 victory over Oldham, for me, it sort of went the way we thought it would go. What about you?
Yeah.
How did you feel?
I thought it was quite a professional performance. It started a bit slow. Then we broke them down a bit, didn't we, through that middle? Thought big performance by Whitbread in the middle. But I think Shire played the full 40 minutes, didn't he? In the middle, that was a big performance from him. And then just a benchmark from that and just broke them down, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And James, when you look at the lineup, we was afforded the luxury of Willie Peters admitted, didn't he, that if it was a Super League game, some of these players would have played. But it was afforded the luxury of being able to rest Michael Lewis, for example, Mickey McAlorum, Warren Hargreaves. I mean, he jokes about them too, that they're nearly pushing on 40, so they deserve a rest. But if it was a Super League game, they would have probably been playing. And, of course, we had Dean Hadley with a HIA, and then we had Joe Burgess. I mean, that's a bit of a worrying one, that is hip injury, because they're not kind of injuries where you think there's an easy answer to treating that. And we'll see, obviously, as we record this, we don't know the squad for the game against Leigh. Hopefully Joe Burgess is included in that, and we hope that his reason for missing the Oldham game isn't something longer term, and it was just a precautionary measure. But when you look at the players, James, who came in to replace them, of course, we had 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗁 coming onto the wing, Danny Richardson slotted back into the halves, and then on the bench, Jack Brown, Eric Dorrough, and Leyland. I mean, a lot of people have been really
like having 𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 back.
Well, there you go. I tell you what, that's a great line straight away, Waino. Me. But I tell you what, James, when you look at the replacements, it was a great opportunity, wasn't it, to give some of them players an opportunity to play against albeit a championship side, but a championship side that had a lot of experience in it.
It was, and I think you're right. I think the result was never in doubt. You know, as Waino said, I think, you know, it was a good, solid professional performance. They never looked like sort of really threatening us. But for me, the important thing was sort of getting some of these fringe players and giving them the opportunity to have a tryout. And I have to say, I think, you know, I was impressed with all of them. I think, you know, it's the first time I'd seen Dorrough and Bill Leyland, and I thought both of them were absolutely superb. I mean, I think Dorrough is going to be, you know, as he develops, I think he's an absolute beast. You know, it was great just to see he got the crowd going. You know, every time he got the ball, he just got the crowd going, and that's the sort of thing you want, I think, from you know, sort of young props coming into the team. And I thought Bill Leyland just really picking up a win. I said, you know, it was just like having Matt Parcell back. You know, it was just, you know, it was great to see. I think, you know, he looked speedy around the ruck. He took his try, took the opportunity of getting that try. You know, took it well. Jack Brown, I thought, was really good. I think, you know, he's sort of clearly stepped on from last season. I think he's really had the benefit of a full pre-season with the club. And
a proper pre-season.
Proper pre-season, yeah. You know, so instead of fighting around, you know, and whatever they do.
Tony Smith's holiday camp.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it did. I think, you know, he looked leaner, he looked fitter, he looked faster, and I thought he's going to ask, you know, I think he's going to give 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃 quite a few nice headaches in the forward selection coming up. Danny Richardson did Danny Richardson stuff, you know, can't fault his efforts. Comes in, great goal kicker, and 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃. I think for me, 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃 is probably one of the signings that it goes in the under the radar bit. I think, you know, every time I've seen him, I've been impressed with him. You know, just goes about his work, does the solid stuff, and he did that on Friday night, and, you know, he thoroughly deserved his try. And I think overall, yeah, it was great to see, you know, a lot of these players getting a run out, doing well. And yeah, okay, you know, the opposition was Oldham, but as you said, you know, they've got some old heads in there. You know, they got the likes of, you know, 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃 and Thornley. I know, like, you know, they were, you know, when they played with us, they were.
Well, I'm going to come on to Thornley soon, and Dixon.
Well, but, you know, there's some good players. And I thought, you know, they've got Dudson, who's got vast experience. Obviously, Dixon, you know, was there. But, you know, Dixon and Challenger Cup don't really go hand in hand, do they? Well, ball doesn't really stay in his hand.
Yeah, they don't go ball to hand.
Yeah, it's never often. But I was quite impressed with that left centre, Sabu. But, you know, he's now got himself banned for 7 games, hasn't he, for a biting charge. But I thought he was quite impressive. But no, it was a solid game. Nothing spectacular. Job done. You know, that's all you can ask for.
Exactly. And Waino, I suppose, at this stage of the season, that's what we wanted. You know, at the end of the day, it's afforded 𝗬𝗂𝗃𝗃's opportunity to play a few players. Yeah, it was a test, but it wasn't that much of a test, was it? In terms of, we probably all knew what the scoreline or the result would be. I mean, Sean Long, the Oldham coach, he was happy with what his team did because he knows what they're capable of doing and the limitations that they've got. So it proved to be a decent run out for both sides. And I think it's one of them games where you just go, it's a job done, 40-0, it was solid. Richardson's got 6 out of 7 kicks. We've seen a variety of scorers, and we've had the opportunity to blood plays into that first team environment, because I think, James, obviously you've played. What's important is when you bring these young players in, or these reserve players, is that the first team environment stays the same no matter who you're playing, so that when they come into it, it is the same. So Dorrough, Brown, Leyland, I mean, Ruin was 18th man, but then that slightly changed a bit with the Evalds situation. That all changed. But these 𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗃, you've got these players are coming into what would happen if it was a Super League game. And I think for me, Waino. That is Willie Peters' skill, how he sets the team up for that.
Yeah, we haven't had that for a long while, have we? And we can sit back where we go like, if a player gets injured, we'll put another Super League player in.
Yeah.
As a few years ago was what, chucking anyone in, weren't we?
Well, yeah, you're right, Waino, because we used to be, if certain players, well, a lot of players got injured, it'd be, right, who can cover that position?
Yeah,
and you have players playing out of position.
If not, we were trying to sign someone midweek, and it's a lot better. We can just rely on our players coming in. They're not as good, but they can show what they've got. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏, right handful when he come on, wasn't he? It just a bit of match fitness in him, and I think he'll be up there with like Junius December and handful players.
Well, that's what I wondered, Waino, because when I looked at Doro, and you looked at his athleticism and you looked at his pace in not just in running on support but in defence, I was more thinking actually he's pushing himself into a second row spot more than
he went further and further out, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's what I thought his real value might be in terms of that. And don't forget as well, Unsemba only came into that Wigan side by accident with Willie Ice's injury. But I think Doro's, I'm looking at him going, wow, is he that second row, that runner, that athleticism, and that range as well of the reach he's got to offload the ball.
At one point when he went over the line, it just didn't stop. Yeah. And they couldn't stop him at all. But every time he touched that ball, he always made like an half break or something. Always got the fans behind him. But I don't know who went off, but someone went off, just rested him. And I'm sure Batchelor went out to the centre. And I'm sure 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 went back row. With 10 minutes to go, I'm sure something like that happened, and it looked good. It did look good there.
Yeah. James, I mean, Willie Peters loves versatility, doesn't he? He loves being able to have players who can shift around the pitch. We've seen it with the pack in Super League so far this season. Batchelor against Wakefield ended up at prop. How he rotates players around the field quite cleverly, depending on the time of the game and who's coming on. So it's a great skill that he's got. One player that we've mentioned, James, is Jack Brown, and we've already mentioned him, but he's obviously someone Willie Peters really likes in terms of what he brings. He looks fit, like you said. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because the danger is, though, with some of these players, these younger players who we've brought in. When I say younger, I mean 22, 23. I look at Ajani Wallace and how he's not really featured and kicked on. And that's the danger, isn't it? That it's great having these players who are backup, but the skill, I suppose, for Peters is to keep these interested and your opportunity will come. I suppose, James, it's a tough one, isn't it? When you build your squad, you want players who can fit into that first team straight away. But at the same point, you've got to keep them sort of entertained in the reserves, knowing that they're not the first choice players.
Yeah, it is a difficult one, and it must be quite hard. And I think it's quite interesting that we've obviously got a number of players who've gone out on dual reg this season and on loan to various clubs. Even like Noah Booth, he's gone out to Hunslet and seems to be scoring tries for fun over there. And so I think Tennyson's got and Lenny Ellis have gone to Gould, and Fishwick gone to Gould as well. Featherstone, and I think it's whether
Hunslet, was it Hunslet?
Hunslet, yeah, it was Hunslet, yeah. I knew it went out somewhere, but for me, I think that's probably where they're going to get more benefit, and that's not to denigrate what happens in reserve grade, but I think the issue that I think they've got with reserve grade is probably just seems a bit ad hoc. There's no really structure to it. Whereas I think when they go out to a championship team or a League One team, they're actually coming up against semi-professional players. Players in that league have got a lot of experience, as we saw with Oldham on last week, and they're probably going to learn a lot more from that than they are doing reserve grade. I think reserve grade is important as a step up point of view, but then to get them ready to slot into a first team slot if that opportunity arises, I think that dual reg thing dual reg are doing and sending them out alone is probably going to be more beneficial for them. So It is, and I think that it's actually trying to keep everybody happy. But going back to Jack Brown again, I think didn't he captain the team at in the Amsterdam Challenge? So I think that'll probably give him a bit of giving him a boost to see where Willie Peters sees him, and I think he certainly said he came on Friday night and he said he didn't put foot wrong. I thought it was very, very good, and as I said, giving Willie Peters a bit of a headache, and also potentially some of the more established players noticed that there is somebody like Jack Brown who if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing and putting the performances in, Jack Brown will come in and take the place.
Yeah, it's I tell you what, James, what's refreshing, and I've mentioned it not just about this game, about previous games, and about how Willie Peters manages the team within the game. So, like traditionally, you'd see players play one position. You don't deviate from that position because that is your position. Whereas Willie Peters, how he changes the game with players, and the players seem quite comfortable moving into certain positions, but he does it at a time when it suits that player to play that position. As daft as that sounds, it's quite a skill, isn't it, being able to do that, because you've got players interchanging all over the place. But as a supporter, sometimes when you're watching in the East Stand or the North Stand, you don't notice it all the time how players are actually interchanging between them positions.
I think like that's good to happen. I feel like if a player gets injured, you don't know what to bring on. Might have an heavy bench.
Yeah,
you've got 3 forwards on your bench, and you don't know what to do. You can shove your ball bent at centre to full back, and you can switch it round. And to be fair, 9 times out of 10 with us, it's been working.
Yeah,
every single time it works. But it's just good. It's good to have, I think, isn't it? Like him, we haven't been like that either. In the last few years since Willie Peters has come, we've got versatile players that can do that. And I think bringing Morgue in again, he's another one. You chuck him at full back, half back gets injured, put him at half back, put Bob in at full back. You can just switch play. You can switch everything around, can't you? It's just miles better. Takes a lot of weight off his shoulders, doesn't it?
And I think what the difference for me is, and what's really important, is how comfortable players look at doing that. I think that's the real key, and that's all stuff that goes out on the training ground. That's all the scenarios Willie Peters puts them in training, and that's I think that's where the skill of what Peters and Danny Ward, Dave Hodgson, that's what they really bring to Kenny Dowell. Now he's been promoted to the role he's got. I think that's the skill that comes to the fore. James, we saw a smattering of former Rovers players in that Oldham side: Ian Thornley, Kieran Dixon, Josh Drinkwater. Even though times moved on, Ian Thornley, Kieran Dixon came up with the same. Ian Thornley injured during a game, Kieran Dixon with a knock on close to his try line. It was like they put a different on, but they're still making the same things happening.
Yeah, I said to my stepson at the game, I said, how the hell did Ian Thornley get a gig at Wigan after he left us?
People forget
that's one of the conundrums of the world. I think how Ian Thornley managed to get a gig at Wigan after he left.
He must have the best agent in rugby.
He must have the best agent. But I had to have a chuckle when he sort of went off injured, and I thought, well, he sort of disappeared down that tunnel more or less quicker than he did after that game, the £1 million game. He couldn't wait to get out of the club, could he? He didn't want to play the Championship, and there he is at Oldham.
And then Kieran Dixon, even when he caught the ball, he still dropped it, didn't he?
You know what? He's such. The thing is with Kieran Dixon, he flatters to deceive, doesn't he? Because he'll come up with an absolute play that you think, how is he come up with that? And then on the next one, or he comes up like the Bill Leyland try. Basically, Leyland's picked his pocket, he's dropped the ball, he's gone into the try.
The thing is, he's caught the hard kick before he's done that. He's caught the kick that was up and under. He's caught it. He's gone to run the ball and he's dropped it.
Yeah, I think that ultimately is where he is, and that's not. To be fair, there's nothing wrong with that. He's eked out a decent career in rugby league. Yeah. He's been able to move around, but it's such a shame because you can see when he was at the Robins, there was mistakes he was making, and he's not managed to have that either coached out of him or whatever it is that makes these mistakes happen. Maybe it's his size, whatever. But I mean, Kieran Dixon, to be fair, he's come up with some magic moments for the Robins. There's times when he's pulled off absolutely unbelievable plays, whether that's try scoring, sometimes in defence, and it was good to see him back at Craven Park. But yeah, you just think that Bill Leyland try sort of just typified what we expected. But we move on. The Challenge Cup was a victory over Oldham, was a great result. It gave us an opportunity to rest a few players. Of course, as well, James, the rumour mill was going off the scale, wasn't it? Because the Roosters are interested in signing Hargreaves. Apparently, they need him back to come back, sort him out.
All from this reporter.
Yeah, I think that's somebody getting a bit carried away. Once it Buzz Ross getting a bit carried away.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. There's a journalist in Australia who said that to sort Sydney out because they got off to a bad start to the season. I.e., the bad start was they lost the opening game of the season. They need someone like Wara Hargreaves to come back and sort them out, as if like Hargreaves is like this head teacher who's going to come back and start disciplining the team.
Then go beat Penrith.
Yeah.
They're on Penrith, yeah.
So the thing is, Hargreaves has moved his family. He's literally moved his family over to England for potentially 1 year, maybe another year. Who knows? Because we don't know what he's going to do next season. Although the club have admitted, Willie Peters admitted, didn't he, that they've already started some talks around potentially another contract. So the club must already see the value in what he's doing and what he's bringing. But it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because the rumour mill, and we're going to go on to that later on because it does.
It's mad what social media does, isn't it? It's crazy. Exactly.
If you'd have believed it, and as soon as he wasn't named in the squad, he's going, and then Rovers put, come to Craven Street and JWH will be there. It's like, hang on, I thought he was on a plane to Sydney. I was get back so quick. So, thankfully, I mean, to be fair, this is. I tell you what, this is the interesting thing though about rugby league in our country. As much as we might not like these kind of stories but the fact that we are being talked in the same breath of the NRL, and we are in them spheres of social media of Fox putting out posts like this, and it shows the relevance that we are still relevant. Although you imagine the NRL being Premier League, we're still probably non-league in terms of the off-field. I'm not saying on-field because I don't think there's a massive gap between the games. But in terms of the off-field stuff we do and how we're set up compared to the NRL, it's worlds apart. But
big difference.
We're still in the conversation. And I think that's where sometimes things like this, of course, it's pure speculation. It's like I put up about Taylor May coming, but he has been pictured over here in a Rover shirt with his brother, the same way that Nathan Cleary was on the grand final day, stood with a Rover shirt on. So sometimes, as much as we don't like it, it's good that them post speculation, etc., has been made because it keeps us relevant and it keeps the game important, and also it gives a route for some players. I might mention Taylor May later on because I think I've seen a question time about the May brothers and half-back situation next season, etc., etc. But I think sometimes, whilst we're in that sphere of bear in mind, there's only two professional rugby leagues in the world. At least we're in that conversation. As much as you might not like the speculation, because it is actually bollocks. That's the problem. So we will go on to Steve is lined up for Robins Revisited.
No way.
Wait there, Steve. I need to bring you onto the screen for all the viewers on YouTube who are wanting to see your face. I'll tell you what, Steve, you can take the full screen for this one. So, Steve. Steve, of course, we've got 𝗲𝗡𝗴𝗏𝗀𝗻 up on Sunday, which is a recent incarnation. I'm always interested to where he's going to take us back to now. Where are you going to take us back to, Steve?
April the 15th, 1984.
Ooh.
That's where we're going back to. And it was the week when Rovers travelled to Hilton Park, Leigh, not the sports village. And it was a game which, if they won, they would become champions of the Slalom Lager Rugby League, as it was then. Yeah, we had 3 games left in the season, but if we won this one, we were going to be champions. Nobody could catch us. And the teams trying to catch us were Hull and Leeds. But this day was a magnificent day. It was the 3rd time in 8 days that Rovers had travelled over the Pennines and had won the other 2 games. And this game, they spent the first hour of the game in a bit of a tit-for-tat endeavour. There was a crowd of 6,000 and there were at least 2,000 Rovers fans that travelled across. But the first hour was tit-for-tat and it was 2016 after 59 minutes. Steve Hartley crossed the line twice, and there were also tries from Mike Smith and Gary Prome. Mike Smith and Gary Prome. And then the last 20 minutes, it was as though Rovers had flicked a switch, the machine started, and they absolutely romped over the opposition. The scoreboard attendant was troubled because he wasn't adding anything to the Leigh score, but he was adding plenty to the Rovers score. The Rovers pack was brilliantly led by 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗁. Absolutely superb playing at number 10. And they hit top gear, they were remorseless. They set the stage for tries from Gary Clark, Gary Prome again, Mark Broadhurst. They were all converted by John Doherty. And Joe Cool, as he's known, he finished the scoring himself because he scored a try and kicked the goal, and we ended up winning 44-16. That try by Doherty came from a magnificent break from Chris Burton. And Doherty, funnily enough, had played for Leigh. He'd guested for Leigh a couple of seasons before. The Rovers fans in the crowd went wild. We all ran on the pitch, and the players went into the stand and waved at the Rovers fans and then took off the shirts and threw them in the crowd. And I actually happened to get John Doherty's shirt. We played in all blue that day, so I've got the all blue shirt of John Doherty, number 6 on the back. So there you go. It was a fantastic performance, and of course it gave us the championship, and it was an interesting start to the last 3 games because we lost the last 2 games in that we'd already won the championship. We eased down a bit and we were looking forward to the Premiership. And in fact, that was the season that Rovers became the first team to win the championship and then go on to win the Premiership as well. So in effect, if you jump forward to now, what they'd effectively done is win the League Leaders' Shield and then win the Grand Final. So there you go. Just a different way of doing things back in the past. But it was a great performance. As I said, it really led by 𝗀𝗂𝗃𝗁, although Gordon Smith at scrum half dictated a lot of what went on. And but as a team effort, it was brilliant. And that was it. Rovers 44, Leigh 16. What would we give for a scoreline like that this week?
I'll tell you what, Steve, there's lots of people I know listen to the Robin Bod and watch it on YouTube who love these little flashbacks because it does prompt memories of years gone by, doesn't it? I am really interested though, Steve. So have you actually got that John Doherty shirt still?
I'll tell you what I did. I gave it to charity.
Good man.
I was talking to, I can't remember the full where it ended up, but I was talking to a lad today about it, and he said if I'd have kept it, it was one of those cotton shirts. If I'd have kept it, you know, there'd have been a few quid, probably more, that could have gone to charity. But I can't remember what I gave it to, but I kept it for a while, and it's one of those things where you didn't frame them then, you know, they were just in a cupboard. So I thought I'll give it to charity. But I vividly remember the team coming up onto. They went into the stands at the old Hilton Park with all the Rovers fans cheering them on from below, and I think it was Mark Broadhurst that threw the first shirt out, and then everybody else seemed to follow up. Incidentally, we're talking about a player who scored in that game, Gary Clark. He actually went on tour that year. He toured Australia with Great Britain. He was a young winger in those days, and Gary Clark went on tour. I think we would have had 4 tourists, but in the game after, that was the game against Hull where Len Casey got sent off, and he got a 6-month ban for pushing a touch judge. I think Fred O'Coy had started the argument, and Casey finished it. And referee Ronnie Campbell, I can see James laughing in the background there. Referee Ronnie Campbell sent Casey off, and as Len was walking off, the touch judge actually approached Len, and Len just stuck his arm out as if to say, "Get out my sight," you know. But he ended up getting a 6-month ban, and it cost him the captaincy of that Great Britain touring team. So, yeah, lots of events around those times, but they were great times because we were winning everything.
Yeah, and Steve, I mean, we've just seen some of them traditions still live on. We saw only after the St Helens game, in terms of Jared Warner-Hargreaves, he gave his boots away, I think, as he went over to the away fans. So I think, Steve, what people and what maybe players who are listening don't forget is how much these little moments are so important to certain individuals. And when you don't give your shirt, your boot, your hat, your sock, whatever it is, that creates a bond, and almost can create, especially with the kids, that lifelong love affair, that affinity with the club just by them little moments.
Yeah, I can remember as a kid we used to go and stand outside Craven Park after training nights, and I must have about 800 copies of the same players' autographs. You know, after every training night, you go and you get the autographs of the same players. You know, but like you say, it has an impact on you, and it has an impact on the children, how thrilled they are, and it doesn't matter how successful the team is. If a player from that team gives a minute or two of his time to talk to a young kid, that young kid's there for life.
Exactly, Steve. Thanks for joining us on Robins Revisited. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to the next game that you come on and tell us about the games from gone by. Guys, and James, I saw you nodding. For people who listen on the podcast, James was, I think he was in agreement with what Steve was saying. He remembered a lot of them games. Games come past. Lots of great memories.
Yeah. I was there at that game in Lee. It was just fantastic. It was a fantastic occasion. Just remember all that must have been 20, 25 coaches all parked behind the. There's like a training pitch behind the one of the stands at Hilton Park and all the coach were parked on there. It's just great. Great days. And the Len Casey incident, I remember that as well. It was quite funny in the end. Obviously not for Len because he obviously got a 6-month ban and lost the captaincy. But yeah, no, great days, and I think hopefully we're going to see a return to them.
Yeah, Waino to bring us back into the present moment. 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁, 𝗂𝗏 Morgue. Of course, we got word that 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁 might be departing the Robin. It is actually after the Rovers' victory over Oldham, and Willie Peters mentioned his press conference post-match that I think Evalds was supposed to be 18th man. I'm sure he was supposed to be 18th man. That changed because there was question about why then Mikey Lewis. On the team sheet, it was Leon Ruin who ended up being 18th man. But then that led to Peters saying that something's going to be spoke about or announced in the next few days. Watch this space around Evalds. With all, I don't know, lots of people have heard the rumour that Evalds would sign for Huddersfield in 2026. So he was already going to them for next season. That deal's come about early now, and he's obviously joined them on loan for the rest of the season, which is interesting because I wonder if there's a recall option in that, and we might actually see 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁 play for the Robins at some point this season. But 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁 has been an absolute fantastic player, Waino, for the Robins since his
quality. He deserves that little send off, doesn't he? He's unbelievable servant for the club, to be honest. But it's quite sad to see him go midway through a season after what he's done over the last couple of seasons. But yeah, it's sad to see him go.
Yeah, he's been a great player, and James, don't forget as well. Originally, that fullback spot was earmarked for 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁, and Evalds was going to be out on the wing, of course. Thankfully, Willie Peters saw sense pretty quickly, and it became quite apparent that actually the intentions probably weren't the right ones. And then Evalds, for me, he's just a player who just fits into the side effortlessly. You just see how he under the high ball. We've talked about him on the Robin pod so many times, how he now jumps into line. And it was interesting about Luke Robinson, the Huddersfield coach, about how he'd said Evalds has developed this pass now, what he can do when he comes out onto the wing, and he seems to be able to throw this little slip pass out, and that's one of the things he's really wanted to bring Evalds to the side for. And it is a bit sad, really, isn't it? The reason for the departure. I suppose the question is because, of course, now Evalds is child's ill, poorly. We saw it on was it Rare Disease Day that the Robins where they backed him up and that, and so whether his departure is based on that and the need to be with his family, which is of course completely understandable, or whether it was a need to bring Arthur Morgue in because we pinpointed the fact that we need a kicker in respect of Reece Martin then being obviously laid out for 4 months, and Martin being an 85% kicker. I think Morgue's about 80% right now. So how the deal came about, it's like the chicken or egg, isn't it? What came first?
I think it came a bit of both ways. Cause I think Huddersfield they've been struggling, haven't they? They've been having Sutcliffe in the half, haven't they?
I think they've been struggling since about 2020.
Well, yeah, for a long time. But well, they got Gagai at fullback, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I reckon he might have to move into the half and they put Evalds at fullback, and I think with them getting that, Clune got injured, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think they're struggling and wanted 𝗂𝗃𝗱𝗏𝗁 to come across. So then we get Arthur Morgue, early, but
yeah. Well, I say what, James, because Arthur Morgue, with his goal kicking, I think it is a real specific job that he's been brought in to do, but that'd be showing probably a bit of disrespect to the fact that he's been playing in the halves for Catalans. He's then obviously played fullback. For some reason, Sam Tompkins has been able to displace him, although Sam Tompkins has come out of retirement, and you won't know that he's come out of retirement. He's not actually really added anything to Catalan, albeit a body. And what was really interesting, James, about the Arthur Morgue move to Robin, is that actually it must be the chairperson. It wasn't Steve McNamara or Arthur Morgue pushing this through. It was the club going, hang on, the Robins are interested. The Robins have had to buy out his contract. So Catalan have now received a lump sum of money to get Morgue, where the coach has actually gone, probably Steve McNamara, I'd quite like him to be part of this side. I want him to be part of this team. And I think if you look at the newspaper reports, especially there was a French one where 𝗬𝗂𝗏 said about it came as a shock to him. He expected to see out the season and how quick it's all happened, let alone the fact that he's in Harry Potter's cupboard while he's over here with two other players. I mean, I'd love to see that scenario. Whether he's used to living in like this palatial home in the south of France and he's come over to East Yorkshire, he's come over to Hull, and actually now he's in just a standard 3-bedroom house, which isn't as palatial as what he's used to. But it's quite a funny quote, and if you seek it out, I think it was what he did with a French newspaper. But James, the way the deals come about, and like I said, like Waino said, he's a good player who's coming. The deal just seems, which is quite right to question at this stage of the season, like why you'd lose your first choice fullback right now and bring in Morgue. But I think it boils down to goal kicking. I really do think it's that goal kicking.
I think it is. I think once Reece Martin's going to be out for that extended period, I think obviously then opened up that Achilles heel we'd had from last season. So I think from that perspective, it is a real good bit of business. But I think, as you say, I think you've outlined, I think there are quite a number of different strands to it. I think, first of all, for Niall Evalds, I think, absolute top player, wish him all the best at Huddersfield. And I think he still lives over in Wakefield, doesn't he? So I think he probably wants to be, closer to his family with the illness that his son's got, which is, and then the family's got to come first. So, goes it's our best wishes. But I think also perhaps another strand behind it is the fact that Catalans are now having to pay everybody's flights and hotels over there. And I think there was certainly on social media, it knocks about €500,000 off their bottom line. So basically, they're going to need as much money as they can to keep them afloat. I mean, Bernard Guash, I think, obviously, he's a bit like Neil Hudgell, isn't he? He sort of bankrolled the club for a number of years. Yes. And even he must be thinking, there's only so many beefsteaks I can sell. I need to sell a lot of beefsteaks to sort of keep this club going. And unfortunately for them, they're not performing on the pitch either. It's there's a whole host of things going on it. But from a perspective, it makes sense. I think he was coming anyway. Comes in early, solves the goal kicking problem, and I think in terms of the type of thing he brings to the team, he's very much in an Niall Evalds mould. So I don't think from a structural point of view, there's going to be too much disruption.
No, the only problem I've got, Waino, and when I look at 𝗬𝗂𝗏, I do think he's quite raw. He's not the complete player yet, is he? He's not. I know what James said is like, so the qualities that you look at Niall Evalds, you can see that in 𝗬𝗂𝗏, but he's not at that accomplished level yet.
Is it for a 3-year contract, isn't he?
3.5-year contract. So now,
he's 25 years old, isn't he? What?
24.
Niall Evalds, 24 years old, and Niall Evalds is what, 31. So Niall Evalds probably got a good couple of years left in him, and then 𝗬𝗏𝗏 is still a very young player, isn't he? To be honest with you, he's yet to come in his best performances.
Yeah, and obviously he adds that versatility, James, in terms of the fact he's wanting to the half now, and I think that's probably what Peters has looked at in terms of that cover. Of course, we've got Danny Richardson, who, to be fair, he's come in and done a decent job.
Great,
The only thing is, you'd say, when you look at that cover, Danny Richardson's a different. So when we lose Mikey Lewis and Danny Richardson comes in to partner Tyrone May, it's a different dynamic. And I wonder if Willie Peters has gone to look at, actually, if Lewis is injured, how can we get a similar type of player in terms of that rawness, that running ability, that able to take the line on your own, and whereas Richardson's more of a bit of a structured player. Does that go with May? I don't know. So I think Peters has just looked at it and gone, and don't forget as well, James, Peters isn't afraid of a mid-season transfer. He's quite, he's quite ruthless in terms of. But what's interesting is these transfers. So you look at Castleford, for example, who were trying to bring in, like Singleton for, as we record this, who's coming today. They're like desperate transfers to literally fill. Whereas I think we could have carried on as we was, and it wouldn't necessarily been a bit. But in that strive for success, they're ruthless. There is
they are. Yeah, I think if you look at where we are, if we didn't have Evalds, you could sort of say Broadbent would be more than adequate replacements at full back. We've got Danny Richardson, as you say, he's a different player to Lewis and May, but he's solid. He does. It doesn't do anything wrong. He just gets about his game and does it very effectively. So. Yeah, I think we've said it a number of times on here, haven't we? That we're in a really strong place now. Where we have got the players who can slot into these slots where we have to, injuries potentially disrupting, as Waino said at the beginning. In the years come by, it was like thinking, right, we need a halfback. Who can play in halfback?
So our middles make it so much easier for them, though. They give them so much more space, especially 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏. Half the time, it's like having another halfback on the pitch with his hands.
Yeah,
he's always first receiver, isn't he? And I think, when Richardson went out to Huddersfield, I think he got no space. He's always on the back foot. You can't show what he's got. And he's stepped in these last couple of games he's been in. It's like he's got loads of space and loads of time. And the kicks he puts in, he puts them exactly where he wants them. And he's another player hard to drop. It's like Broadbent, you're looking at him at the weekend, he's going to be a hard player to drop. His last 2 weeks has been undroppable.
Well, we're going to come on to Jack Broadbent because we're going to preview the league game. But I think you're right about 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏, what I love about him is his soft hands. How he's able to glide that ball out, because then it pushes your halves out to make that magic where it counts, where it is playing into the centre, where it's the cut-out pass to the winger, whether it's a little grubber kick into the line. And I think having a loose forward like 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏, he's somebody. I think he's still so underrated in Super League, 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏, because he's. I think sometimes you expect a loose forward to be sort of this barnstorming runner who's going to crash into defence, and actually the skill is to become almost like another half. But what 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏 then does in the middle is his defensive work. He's regularly 35 plus tackles, anywhere between 35 to 50 tackles a game. He is such a sharp player in there. So that's
I think what 𝗀𝗧𝗏 likes about his players. 9 times out of 10, his players are clean-up players. Dean Hadley, he does all of that. 𝗵𝗂𝗧𝗏, he does all of that. All the players that he's like selling into the club are clean-up players, and 9 times out of 10, they are an 8 out of 10 every single game.
Yeah, I love that. 9 times out of 10, they're an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I'm crap at maths as well, so I'm trying to work out the law of averages to see what that is. But that brings us on to, I'll tell you what, before we preview the league game, which is, of course, on Sunday, another huge game for the Robins, because Leigh are the only other side unbeaten in Super League. But they did drop points against that lot, which brings us timely on to the Challenge Cup draw, James, which, of course, has set tongues wagging, let alone what allocation the Robins will have in terms of tickets for that game. But it's the BBC's dream, in it. It's a dream fixture for them because it's got everything. It's got rivalry, it's got drama, it's got the underdogs coming up against the big dogs. It's got the fact that they beat the cup holders. In terms of if you was a TV producer or wanting someone to schedule games, this is the one that puts bums on seats in terms of the settees and people in the pubs to watch the games.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it was inevitable it was going to happen once. I mean, it was last one was in 1986.
Yeah, which, to be fair, law of averages, it should have happened before.
Should have been long before then. Yeah.
How many times we've played Leigh and Salford over the last few years?
Yeah. The only surprise we didn't get Leigh, isn't it? We'll save them for the semi-final. But yeah, it's going to be a great occasion, I think. And we've got nothing to fear, really. It's going to be.
I was going to say that there's nothing to fear in terms of the old adage. It's the magic of the cup, and I think that is what the fear is. It's not the teams on paper. It's not the game. It's crazy stuff happens. The fact
there's a hype around it, and just that's something that happens in the game that just throws it all off. And but I think
what's the draw?
Right. You what, Wayne? Oh, Waino, what that 1 hour rugby league special on BBC 5 Live that they condensed into 16.
The most unprofessional thing I've ever seen in my life as well.
Yeah, and then what that done is, Waino, you're right, because what that doesn't do is when you're on a national stage, and like I'll tune into 5 Live when I'm driving, and when they cover the Premier League and the cover of sports, it's interesting, it's concise, and then you go back to that and you go, well, that reflects on the game. That don't make the game look professional. Yeah, it was an odd, for something that was billed as an hour-long rugby league special featuring the Challenge Cup quarter-final draw. It ended up being John Wilkins' golf story, which nobody was interested about, by the way.
And then Andrew Morley chipped in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what you've literally got the opportunity to sell the game to the nation, and you're talking about fucking this. Yeah. Anyway, and then the hash of the draw. Yeah, it just, I don't know. It didn't put the game in a great light.
What? I don't understand why. Why would you take a camera off when they're doing a draw?
Exactly. Yeah.
What's the harm in? Oh, it's just.
Yeah. Well, which to the normal punter on the street is just oddities that he'd go, like, you won't do this if it was the FA Cup draw. It's just a weird way that they've got of working things, and it was a shame, really. But I mean, James, the draw, the cup game, it's going to be red hot. The atmosphere, Rovers, no doubt. The fact that we play them 2 weeks later anyway, and they've already sold out of all them tickets. This game for the Robins. The sad thing is that and I've been on social media trying to explain to people who can't read black and white, which is funny because most of them wear it. The rules state the opposition side are entitled and should be provided with 30% of the allocation. But in the event of, for safety reasons, that the police or the stadium advisory safety group say, actually, we cannot house 30% of the opposition's supporters, and in the event of that, we cannot have that game played here if that is what happens. So then that goes to the RFL. The RFL have got to ratify that to say, based on the information or evidence you provided, we agree that actually that club cannot get 30% of the allocation which they should receive under the rules of the competition. Like, it's not a difficult concept for people to understand. It's not as if Hull FC can go, hang on, we don't want to give you 30% of our tickets. That's not how the rules work. What's happened is an independent group have said, an advisory board have said, we cannot stage this game if you give 30% of the tickets to the opposition team, which is a sad indictment, really, of a stadium management committee. On the flip side, I do understand it in terms of you can't just put a row of stewards and half the East stand at the MKM Stadium and expect nothing to happen. It's you know, and I think what's been sad is, James, for me, is how previous events, you know, we've seen instances of bottle throwing, etc. We can pick out multiple events, which has now led to this restriction. But bear in mind, the way the stadium's segregated now is based on football.
Yeah.
So it's the football segregation which we have to adhere to because that's the maximum tickets that would be available for Hull City playing, Middlesbrough or Sunderland or anyone else who came to that stadium. And I just think it's sad that we've not been able to accommodate more Hull Kingston Rovers supporters in the stadium because the fact we've got 9,000 plus season ticket memberships, and also the fact we play the derby on Good Friday, so many people have missed out on being able to get tickets for that game, and there's every chance that the same people might now miss out on getting this because we've had a reduced allocation. But Yeah.
I just think it's a cop out. I think, you know, I can understand why they've done it, but you're not telling me they can accommodate 25,000 crowds for football games with the likes of Leeds United, Millwall come in, and then they can't manage that. For me, there's ways they could have done it if they wanted to get more Rose fans in there. There's ways they could have.
It's going to be crazy because at the end of the day, if we're not going to get a ticket, we're just going to buy a ticket in the home end anyway, aren't we?
Well, the problem is in this city, you know, enough Hull FC fans who are your mates. Who
you go with,
get you a ticket.
Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go on the website and buy the ticket from there.
Well, I think I don't know what they're going to come out, but I think they obviously look at memberships and obviously the priorities, and obviously for it's like our games at Hulkington Rovers that members get priority, and then it'll be then secondary resales, and then after that it'll be members can then purchase X amount of tickets, and obviously the thing you've got to factor into this, James, is that it's a paid game. It's not party membership.
That's what I mean. I don't think. I was talking to the missus tonight about it, and I said, I reckon there'll only be about 14,000 there now, because, like I say, it's not in the past, so the bin dippers won't be. They'll have to sort of go behind the surface and get the loose change and try and buy a ticket. And I think they're just probably scared that at the end of the day, if they'd give Rovers 7,000 tickets, they would have been outnumbered by the Rovers fans, and it just beggars belief. I think there were other ways they could have managed it. They could have said they could have not sold alcohol, or they could have stopped you taking drinks onto the terracing like they do in football. They could have done allocated seating rather than unreserved. So the allocated seating would obviously get more people in there, which obviously they do for the football games. So you know, why couldn't they do it for rugby games?
Yeah, the fact it's all unreserved then restricts the capacity as well. There's ways and means around things, but ultimately we are where we are. We've received 15% allocation, which is based on Good Friday. It's a shame. Hopefully, you know, the thing that I want is that it is actually a game that's played out on the field, and we're able to walk away from it, whatever the result, going, what a game. That was it. And we don't want to be left talking about anything that's happened beyond that. Interesting about what Hull FC put out on their website about why the decision was made, and it was all about the safety of spectators, which leads you to then go, well, is this such a problem fixture now where it should be policed like a football game? Because I'm not being funny. For a long time now, the derby, especially at the MKM, from what I've seen from both sets of supporters, the police pay sort of lip service to what goes on, whereas I've been to many Hull City games over many years, and it's policed completely different. And I do think this derby game, and this is what winds me up about when Wigan Saints say about their rivalry, you're like, hang on, there's nothing like the old derby. It is so, you know, Wigan Saints, whatever, in on the same scale. If they think it's that unsafe, it should be policed like a police game, but it should be policed like it's a football game. But then that detracts from the fact that rugby league is supposed to be a family game. I hate it when they put it on the tannoy when someone swears, and the rugby league is a family game, you know, when they shout referee. But I think, do you know what? Well, then police it accordingly, and then sell tickets on the back of what you're doing. So but it's a game that has got everyone talking. Then, let alone the fact then Waino, we play them on Good Friday, and we've got Wigan sandwiched in between that as well.
Oh, some injuries going there, aren't they? Some injuries coming in there.
Do you reckon?
Oh, back-to-back derby and then Wigan.
Yeah,
that's going to be
at least we've gone away, James, from the old Good Friday, Bank Holiday Monday fixture.
Oh yeah.
We used to have. Which could cripple you, which it did for Rovers.
We did, didn't it? Yeah, we knackered off them before. Yeah,
so it's not a bad thing that they've moved that. I mean, that leads us on to the league game on Sunday, James. I mean, it's a tough tie, this, isn't it? It is a tough game against Leigh. They've been doing well. I tip Leigh to be 4th place. I'm looking at Warrington going, actually, Leigh would maybe pick them for fares, because I think St Helens.
St Helens are gone.
the news that 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗲𝗀's now injured for a long period. I don't think Warrington have pulled up any trees. And I don't think Leigh, do you know what? Credit, let alone Derek Beaumont and his opinions, but how he's funded the club and how they've then, under Chris Chester, been able to recruit players, and then the coaching of Adrian Lamb. Do you know what? They've done really well. And this game on Sunday is probably now gone a little bit under the radar based on what's happened with the Challenge Cup and all the noise about that. But this is a tough encounter on Sunday.
It is. I think I thought Leigh would do well this season. I think I put them about 4th or 5th in my predictions. And I thought there might be slow starters given the they had quite a lot of turnover in the squad. So, giving them time to settle in. But I'll be honest, I've been really impressed with them. I thought they played some good stuff. Defensively, they've been absolutely outstanding. There's not many teams that go to Wigan and keep Wigan to 0. So no, it is going to be a very, very tough game on Sunday. There ain't going to be many points in it. I think Rovers are going to have to bring their A game. I watched the Saints game back over the weekend, and I think John Wilkin was saying he probably thinks Rovers about 80% of where they were last season. I think that's probably fair assessment. I think we saw against Saints how we did step up. Now we'll play in a sort of better quality team, and I think on Sunday we're going to have to step up to even a whole new level to contain Leigh. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. Yeah,
Waino, what are you expecting from the Robins on Sunday?
I think they've got to come up fast. Got to shut that Armstrong down, haven't they, out the back? He's some player, isn't he? So he plays off the forwards, doesn't he? So a little bit of room, he's gone, isn't he? So I think, to be honest, if they keep him quiet, I reckon we'll do all right. I reckon we'll do them by 12, 16 points.
I'll tell you what, mate.
Confident, but
I want to see if you're really putting your money where your mouth is on the.
I will do. I will do.
But, I mean, the only thing, and Waino maybe he's confident is because I caught a bit of the when they played that lot and went down to Golden Point and they looked knackered. They looked a completely different side, James, to what we'd seen against Wigan, and that then just led me to believe, well, they are there to be got at a little bit as well if you can get into
amongst them. I think we're echo what Waino was saying. That I think we need to start quickly. And where we looked last season, when we have started quickly, we have essentially put a lot of the games to bed fairly early. And I think also actually we managed to nil them both games last season in the league, didn't we? Our place and their place, and that game at the Leigh Sports Village back end of the season was probably one of the best performances of the whole season. So it's that sort of level of an intensity that I think we're going to need to be able to match on Sunday. But they did look like they could beat. They did look like they were beatable again when they played the other week. But hopefully they play as badly as they did that day on Sunday.
You're still at the part of the season, aren't you? You can't figure out teams out too much yet, can you? You're still at that. You're on that tough part of the season where you don't know if they're there or not. But
all the coaches talk about that magical 10-game match, and then go right. This is where we know our sides are, and we're not right because we are still trying to get a read on sides to see what they really are like. The thing is, though, James, of course, we've already spoke about Arthur Morgue and Jack Broadbent and Niall Evalds and who could potentially fill that fullback spot. Are you expecting Morgue to come straight into the side at fullback?
Oh God, I think I probably am actually. We should be fairly unlucky on Jack Broadbent because he's done nothing wrong to warrant sort of being dropped out of the team. But again, that just highlights the position we're in now. Where we can replace, take somebody out of the team like Broadbent, who's been fantastic, and bring in somebody else like with Morgue. I think if it had been a cup game next week, I think it probably would have kept with Broadbent. But obviously, because we're playing Huddersfield next week as well, and so obviously Morgue's cup tied, so he can't play against the Bin Dippers. I think he
Which
will.
then does he play then? Because what do you reckon, Waino?
I think you can't change it. You can't change a winning side, can you? That winning team, you can't change a winning team. I don't think. I think you keep him in, mate.
Yeah.
You go to St Helens. That performance in St Helens is Broadbent itself was about 10-10, wasn't it? The way he got all that in goal area.
Yeah.
He looks like a fullback. He didn't look out of place.
That's an interesting point, Waino, because Broadbent has got that physical presence, hasn't he? He is a strong player, and what I've really enjoyed this season is not just how he's returned the ball out of back play and his strength, but how he's added that. I'm not saying added because he's done this previously at other sides before he's suffered bad injuries, but he's added that attacking side to his game at the Robins, what we didn't see necessarily early on. So I think it was a try against was it St Helens where he glided into the line, provides a pass. You know, we're starting to see that now. But Arthur Morgue looks like he's been brought in based on his goal kicking.
Yeah.
And then that seems to be very difficult to ignore in terms of why he'll be playing.
I think it's going to. I think it's going to come down to goal. You know, the goal kicking side of things. I think because Peters will probably look at next Sunday's game and thinking it's going to be tight. It's going to potentially come down to goal kicking. I know sort of Mikey banged a couple of one of from the touchline against Saints, but I think we saw last season. You know, he can do. He does that in games. Then the week after he's cat kicking for Toffee. So I think it's probably going to take a view. Yeah, I'm going to need a reliable goal kicker. And I think that's the whole point they brought Martin in to sort of enable us to have that consistency in goal kicking, and we don't want to be in a position where we're going to lose games because of missing a couple of kicks, because I think they've got decent kickers, haven't they?
Would you rather Broadbent go into the cup tie as a couple of games under his belt or not though?
That's a big question, isn't it? Because you drop
it's a difficult one. You
drop Morgue in and then you take him back out again, and then potentially then what you do against Wigan.
Yeah,
and then so it's a really tough one, and
I think one out of 2 games you've got to play him. I think
as well. The only thing with Morgue is he only started training yesterday.
Yeah.
Rovers, but I can see why he'd play. Hey, look, I mean, we'll know Sunday, and this is where now Willie Peters earns his money.
One for Willie, isn't it?
You know,
the fullback. He got a fullback, Broadbent in the centre, and
we'll see something completely different, won't we? We'll see Richardson and Morgan in the halves.
Yeah, I think that ship sailed a long time ago. But look, Morgan could have a stink of a game, and he comes up with a 2-point kick that wins the game, and that's So yeah, hey, who knows? It's going to be interesting. Of course, we've also got Dean Hadley coming back, fresh from his HIA. Of course, McAlorum, where Hargreaves will come back in. Luckily, does he retain his spot, or do we then see potentially Doro or Brown coming in? And then I think, Waino, you mentioned it right at the start about Whitbread, another try for him, and how well he's been playing. So that, you start stripping back this team, and then you go, actually, there's a lot of people staking a claim. Kershaw, Burgess, we expect him to be fit, or we hope he is, but with his hip injury, do we know he is? Kershaw, he's got a game under his belt now with a try. Actually, could he just slot straight in? We don't need to risk Burgess. So it is going to be interesting, isn't it, to see the 13 and the interchanges on Sunday. But I do think we're in a good place in terms of the squad at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much of a change though. I think, from the St Helens game, I think rather, obviously, if Burgess is fit, I reckon Burgess plays. I reckon he'll play personally, but I think the only one that you got to look at is rather Broadbent or Morgue. I think that's the only change I can see personally, but from St Helens game.
Well, I think that's a fact, James, isn't it? When you look at the St Helens lineup, the certain players who if they're fit, no matter what, they are playing. There's no question mark over him, and I think Willie Peters has evolved this squad to the point where you can pretty much pick the 13 who are, if they're fit, they play no matter if they've had a dip in form. They are the players who play.
Yeah,
That's as bad as it comes though. You don't see any players coming through until you get an injury, do you? Like you said in December earlier, did it really come through until 𝗪𝗂𝗧 got injured? I think you got to be a bit lucky with injuries for players to come through, step through. Because it's all right playing these cup games and that, but even if 𝗲𝘂𝗧 was the best player on the pitch, would he got picked this week still over 𝗀𝗂𝗀𝗏? And you wouldn't. I don't think he'd have got picked, would you?
No. Right. Well, that brings us to question time. And then that brings us to, we've got lots of questions. So Waino, remember when I say James, it's James. And when I say Waino, it's Waino. Because there's specific questions for you. Okay. So, right. Bearing in mind that, James, what we've just been talking about, Adam Lindup on Facebook, he's just said, we have the Challenge Cup game versus that lot, then Wigan, and then that lot again. So we are bound to see Willie's ideal 13. What's your starting 13? Is it that different from Willie Peters?
I don't think it is. I think the league games you put in Morgue in, and I think for the cup games you put in Broadbent in, and then you go on the basis hopefully if everybody else is fit and as you know is fit, then it stays as it is.
Yeah. Waino, Regan Andrews, he asks, we've spoke about it already, but it's a good point. Thoughts on Morgue for Evalds? Is it an upgrade or a downgrade?
I think years to come, it's an upgrade, isn't it? I think with now Evalds getting 31, his career's going to go like peaking on the way down now, isn't it? With his age, and I think with him being 25, he's got a good few years in him, and he's only going up, isn't he? Half a Morgue.
Yeah, well, he's got. Yeah, the only thing is the here and now, and whether it's a gamble on someone. The only thing I'd say is getting rid of someone tried and tested and bringing. That said, and Artur Morgue, it's not like he's a stranger to rugby league. He's played over 100 games, I think, for Super League. He's played a variety of positions. At times, he's led that Catalan side round, and so it's not I
can't wait to see him to play with Mikey. To be fair, because it's two players that attack the line. There's not many players that attack the line better than Mikey Lewis, is they?
That's it.
French, maybe, and that's it.
I think that's what the excitement is around how them two link up in terms of that free play, that ability to offload like Mikey has. Mikey can take on the line, but if you're in back play supporting him, the opportunities he can present you sometimes, and vice versa as well now. If Morgue can break that line and Mikey's supporting him, so that's the exciting bit. Ian Dixon on Facebook, I'll go through all the Facebook ones. Have we any update on what's happening with the PNG boys who were meant to be coming across to be part of the scholarship? James, it was to do with visas and bringing. It's not as easy just bringing two lads from Papua.
Well, it's not. No. I think it's funny. I was thinking about that myself the other day because they're supposed to come over last August, and then there's hit problems with visas, but it just seems to go all a bit quiet. It's maybe something that they could raise at one of the supporters' councils. Yeah,
I think anything like that, red tape. I mean, let alone talk about immigration, visas, work permits, young people. I think the club have obviously announced them with and got a plan in place, and then when it's then that's when it goes. It's not as easy. So hopefully it bears fruition because there's a big fanfare about it, and of course we're keen to open links up across all of rugby league across the world. So let's see where that happens. Bazza Kingston, he's got like a fantasy question. If we had to release one player, not the type of fantasy you have, James, by the way, but maybe it is actually Rovers related. If we had to release one player off the quota spot in order to bring a star signing from Australia right now, who would it be?
God.
It's a tough one, that, isn't it? Oh, you're releasing to bring Nathan Cleary in.
Oh.
Tyrone, man. He's on the
Tyrone, yeah.
Like for like, Yeah,
I like Tyrone
yeah.
May.
I suppose that's it, innit? If you was
Yeah.
looking at quarter spots, you'd probably be going like for like, wouldn't you? To go,
Yeah.
well, if we can get X player,
You couldn't release Tyrone May without an halfback.
no. Well, that's it, does it? And then I think I've got anyway. Staying on the May brothers because I think we've got a question about Tyrone May, about the future of the May brothers, and I think even Nathan Cleary's thrown into this as well, which is crazy conversations. But let's have a look. With Morgue coming over early and him being confirmed and signed for next season, thoughts on retention and possible areas the team will need to be added to? That's from Glenn over on X.
Oh, no. What's
I don't
it
know.
mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got obviously May's out of contract, isn't he? And there is going to be a certain movement of players. I think the movement of players depends on, of course, what we do this season. But I don't know. But then I think about, actually, does this squad evolve regardless of what happens come the end of the season? So actually, even if we do hopefully get to the holy grail of lifting silverware, does the squad evolve anyway? In that the secret of a good squad, James, how you evolve and you build and you.
I mean, for me, the obvious one would be around hooker, because I think obviously 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, I think, is probably nailed on for just having 1 year. But then you think, well, actually, Leyland is obviously being earmarked for that spot, and then you're thinking, obviously he did well against Oldham. He's going to get more, experience around the club. And then you think, okay, well, do we need another hooker? But then you got Lenny Ellis out on loan at goal. He's getting experience there. So you're thinking, well, actually, he's going to come back into the club, into a full-time environment, and hopefully benefit from the game experience he's got. So you probably then see you probably would need a hooker. Perhaps you're looking, replacement for 𝗀𝗧𝗏 if he goes. But then again, you've got the likes of Fishwick, Tennyson, Dora, Ruane. We seem to have a few players, a few options coming through. It's a tough one.
I did like the 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 interview that he did with Dave Craven a couple of weeks ago, where he said basically he's not moving his family over here and he can't wait to get back to the south of France.
Can't live, can you? I mean, South of France, so he's told you tough one.
At least it was a bit of refreshing honesty about where he is.
Well, why not? I mean, he doesn't need. I mean, to be fair, the guy's got nothing to prove. He's doing it. He's brought in to do it. Being brought in to do a job, and I think he's doing it superbly. I think people were. I think early in the season they were calling him saying a waste of a spot and everything. But if he's been brought in by Willie Peters to sort of take the ball, acting halfback, not making any yards, not doing any runs, just pass the ball out, first receive to first man, and that's all he's doing. But just put 20-25 minutes of solid defence in that rattles the opposition, then he's doing a great job.
First 20 minutes of the game, it's last two people you want to see in it, 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃.
And that's where against Saints, they just strangled them. In that first 20-25 minutes, it was 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 and and Sue just strangled Saints. I watched
first
it again.
One's up, weren't they?
Yeah, I watched it again over the weekend, and I just thought, God, they just couldn't get out of the half. Yeah. And then when Sailor just sliced that ball into the touch on the full, it was just like that came out of just purely on the pressure that they've been put under.
I think they had 10 minutes in the first half at the end of the first half, and I think they had 10 minutes, to be honest, in the second half. And that's when 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 come off.
Yes, when 𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃 went off on it, yeah.
When they both come off as a pair.
They got their first try, yeah.
Yeah.
So Joe Palmer, he asked a question about on XE about Morgue coming straight in. I think we've answered that already in terms of who we'd like to see playing or we expect to see playing and the reasoning behind it. Tom _HKR on XE says about with Morgue coming as fullback now, does that mean a new deal for May is in the works, or do you think we'll be looking for a new number 7 for 2026? Tyrone May, there's lots of movable parts in that, because I've seen reports that Tyrone May is signing for West Tigers, but nothing's confirmed yet, of course. The other May brother is already at West, and it's something from a couple of years ago, isn't it, where I think the May brothers said they'd all like to play together. Wow, what training must be interesting when you've got all three of them together. or your team night out. Wow, what a night that'll be! But potentially it could work the other way, because if we're looking at another centre, does keeping Tyrone May here bring Taylor May in? I don't know. We're talking fantasy rugby league now, aren't we? Where we're just sort of guessing and putting.
We'll get 2 more quarters for next year, won't we?
Well, with the ruling on players who've been, is it players who've been over here for 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, isn't it?
And I think Tanganoa and I think
Reece Martin,
yeah. I think it was supposed to happen this season, and then for whatever reason, I'm not sure, didn't. But Tanganoa and Reece Martin should come off the salary cap, off the quarter spot cap. So, yeah, there's lots of movable parts in all of this, isn't there? Let alone the fact Nathan Cleary might be coming to Rovers. But that's not a rumour I'm spreading now, because it's complete bollocks. I've not heard anything. Finish on this question from Matt Gregson, and it's a big one. James, I'll start with you. Nowadays, I think we'd rather win the grand final than the Challenge Cup. But if you were offered a guaranteed Challenge Cup final or a guaranteed grand final appearance with a win still possible, which would you take?
Well, you guarantee the final, but not guarantee the win.
No, you can right now. You can pick a guaranteed Challenge Cup final or a grand final.
I think I'd take the grand final.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, but now, James, knowing who's in the quarter-final draw.
No, Challenge Cup every day.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you know what? I think we're not at the point, Waino, where we pick and choose. We are still.
I'll just take whatever.
I'll take a grand final.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be great to get grand final.
I think I'd choose that over a Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
I think
just from a prestige point of view. Yeah, I think from a prestige point of view and just the consistency over a season, the work you have to get to be in a position where you actually get to a grand final.
What's harder for win the grand final is a Challenge Cup, in it.
I tell you what, mate. Do you know what I'll pick? The one we've got the most chance of winning, and whatever that may be. Because at the moment, I couldn't care less what we win, when we win it, but it needs to be a major trophy that we win, and whatever route that is. Because we're not at the spot time yet, are we, where we pick and choose it? It is literally. And I think that's what Peter's all over. He's all over for every game. It's every game counts. Every trophy, every game. You go out to win.
I mean, we're favourites now out for the Challenge Cup, and I don't think we've been favourites for the Challenge Cup since the 80s.
St Helens are still, are they?
No, Rovers are now.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, it keeps changing. It literally every day the odds keep changing, so and no doubt they'll change. Yeah, they'll keep changing.
Carl Felt's injured, so Rovers are now.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway, right, Waino, great debut. I'll tell you what, mate. Bit rough around the edges, but you've got plenty left to give, and I'm expecting a good season out of you as we go on. So you'll always be welcome to come off the bench, Waino, and challenge James for a starting spot on the Robin Pod. No, honestly, mate, it's been great to have you on the Robin Pod. And you probably brought down in one appearance the average age of our normal. Brought down the average age of our regular guests. So straight away we're on to winner. Lee up next.
We're having Steve out on together anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. So before we even think about the Challenge Cup game, Good Friday, and what's ahead of us, we've got Lee on Sunday, and I'm sure that is the game that Willie Peters and his squad are focusing on most importantly, as we should be as supporters. If you're going to the game on Sunday, remember to be loud and proud. For now, though, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Singing a song. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing. When the red, red robin comes bob, bob, bobbing along.
The Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres Auto Centre. Make them your first and only choice for a vast array of vehicle services. They are reputable East Hull-based car specialists and dedicated to providing quality services at reasonable prices. And don't forget, they are trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull Kingston Rovers. Find them at 146 Leeds Road and ask them about the exclusive discount they offer Hull KR Rovers Forever members.